welcome to Dog Talk. Tonight's going to be a little bit different for everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank Enduro for their ongoing support in bringing you our live Q&A. Tonight, we have Isaac Hotz and Jamie Starrick on board for a bit of a chat and see what's going on with things as well as just, dive into your new auction that you guys have got going on. So, welcome.
Yeah, g'day everyone. How's it going?
Thanks, Laura.
No, thank you both for jumping on. Just for our viewers out there, Daniel is just running a little bit late, but he'll be on the next half an hour or so. So we might get straight into it. Isaac, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, sort of where you grew up, what you're doing these days, and then we'll go from there.
G'day. I'm Isaac Hotz. Grew up in a little town southwest of Rockhampton, 2.5 hours, called Monto, and been involved with dogs all my life. Married when I was how old was I? 28, and got my wife Katie and 3 young girls.
Beautiful. Yeah. And Jamie, it's been a while since we spoke to you on Dog Talk. So do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself as well and what you've been doing since we last spoke to you?
Yeah, sure. That was episode 3, I think. So that was probably a couple of years ago. So what are you up to now? A bit over 100.
112, this one is.
Yeah, there you go. So it has been a while, yeah. So I'm still in the same spot, still in Jalaka, Queensland. Same job. I have a cattle manager job. Work with stock every day. Very into the dogs. Do some dog schools. We have a online platform that kind of ties into that.
Yep.
Yeah, breed a few dogs, train a few dogs. And I guess just to explain to viewers where I fit in a little bit tonight. So Hotz and I, we've known each other for a bit over 20 years now. Hotz, you'd be early thousands. We run into each other.
Just on 20 years.
Yeah, so we became mates. Yeah, sort of young fellas, and I guess it was the dogs and I guess the bush and stock that we kind of found that mutual interest, and over many years, we've sort of we've tried against each other and mucked around with dogs a lot. We worked together for a couple of years, but anyway, Hotz will tell you all about that. But we worked together, and more recently, we've got this Australian Working Stock Dog Auction happening together, a bit of a business venture. So we'll get into that later on.
Yeah. So when did you met 20 years ago? Was that at a dog trial or just being young, meeting around the place? Is there a bit of a story?
You want to tell that one? Yeah, tell that one, Hotzy. Condamine Pub.
Yeah, it's Condamine Pub, and I'm good friends with Alex Nixon that I went to college with, and Alex and I went down there, and Jamie, good mates with Alex, and they grew up and went to school together, and I met Jamie at the bar, and probably didn't have a real good first impression with him, but anyway, we got through that, and we made ever since.
Is that a story you want to share or not?
Oh, there's no real yarn to it.
What's that?
I say there's no real yarn behind it. There wasn't an incident or anything, but we probably just didn't rub each other the right way first time around. But what's that?
I was probably a bit cheeky, and Jamie'd come back from WA and I'd come back from the Gulf.
Yep. And you mentioned college. Is that like university or school, like high school?
So I left school when I was in year 10, went to school in Bundaberg, and then went to the Emerald Agricultural College for 3 years in the early 2000s, 2001, 2 and 3. And met a lot of lifelong friends there. And
Studying Cert 4 in Ag?
Cert 3, 4, and then dual diploma in beef cattle production.
Yep, rightio. And you're obviously still using that today?
Yeah, it just gave us a good base, good start, like for young people that, learn how to shoe a horse and, work cattle and break a horse in and, just all aspects of agriculture on the land, fencing, just a good all-round thing, like with everything, with chainsaws or the lot, like how to drive a truck. Very basic. And then each year just got further and further advance a bit more, and then into the management side of things in the third year.
Yep. And then from there, you said to the golf?
Yeah, I went to the golf.
And your wife at college, mate. You forgot to add that. That was probably
That's something you shouldn't forget.
Yeah, met Katie at college, and then went up to the golf for. Well, I was working on a place at Jalaka, just west of Jalaka, for a family there, Denise Corbett and her son Frank, and then so I was going to their all school holidays, and got my first dog off Alex Nixon when we were at college, and because he was close there to Jalaka, I guess, and so I was working with them all school holidays from when I was 13. I met Frank on a trail ride, and then after college I went there, did a few months over the wet season, and then I went to a contract camp in the Gulf. For 2 seasons, and then I'll come back to Jalaka in between.
Yeah. Did your wife go with you?
No, so Katie and I went together then, but I did meet Kate at a few camp drafts and race meetings up there. Katie was working at Augustus Downs at the same time for Stanbroke at the time.
Yeah.
That I was up there, but we weren't together until 2008.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Middle of 08. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So from there, obviously, when did dogs sort of come into the picture for you?
So I had dogs all the time. So when I was at Jalaka, I had this my first bitch, Devoncourt Sally, and then a fellow by the name of Alan Meisner, an agent in Miles, was coming out buying cattle, and I got a black barb dog off him that was pretty well bred. I later found out. I didn't know the barb side of it, but he was by a collie dog called Trina Tramp, and he was by Dubbo out of Houston Lee Sally, and he was a pretty good dog. And then I got in the country life and saw that Sean McGuigan had a dog school advertised there, so I got in my car, got in the old ute, and come up here to. Well, he lives just down the road from me here now, in between Billawilla and Monto. Did his dog school and met a fellow by the name of Terry standing there, and a month or so went by, or a couple of months, and I went to did my first trial at Taroom. And then that's actually where I met. I can't remember the name of the bloke, but he gave me the contact to go work for that contract camp in the Gulf.
Yep. So you had your dog with you there in the Gulf?
Yeah, took them both with me. So I did Taroom trial, went not too bad there, got a taste for it, and then I did Springshaw trial, and then I went up there and took two dogs with me and a pup that I bought off Sean. Unfortunately, he got run over up there not long into it. So I just had the 2 dogs, and then, 2 dogs up there for that season. And then when I come home, I was driving back from up north in Normanton from Van Rook Station, and I bought a country life at Julia Creek, and started buying a few dogs when I got back.
Yeah. So those lines you were using them, do you still have them somewhere in your dogs these days, or have you gone elsewhere?
Yeah, no, I still got them, but I don't have a lot of them. What I had originally back then. Yeah, but not, that's 20 years ago. But I have got the third dog I got. I've got him stored in the tank.
Yeah. So how's it changed? Is the style of dog you look for different, or compared to what it was, or?
Probably just chased a bit more trainability and type in the dogs, and bit more travel. Really chasing the stamina in the dogs now. Yeah. And those dogs back then did it for me, so I'm starting to go back to them a little bit, but interacting it with the dogs that I have today. Yeah. And I don't know how it's going to go.
Hotzy, tell us about we've talked about it in the past. If you think there's a bit of a correlation between, it seems like a lot of us get a good dog or two when we're young, early in the piece, and it's not necessarily correlated to, how well we train them or what we know. But do you reckon there's anything there, with those first couple of dogs you have? I mean, a couple of my first dogs were the best I've ever had, and you would be similar, do you think? Or
yeah, definitely the third and fourth dog I had were I don't think I've had anything near that. But I probably, if you stop and really analyse it, probably haven't put near the time into the ones today or what I put into them. And I think we didn't know what we didn't know, and we took them to work at, they might have been 6 or 7 months old, and we didn't know right from wrong or wrong from right. Like, we threw them in the deep end, and they just sink or swim pretty well. So
on from that though, do you think that now, what you said, you don't know what you didn't know? So do you think your expectations are actually higher now than what they were then, and that's why you consider them better dogs than what you have now?
Yeah, I think the expectations are a lot higher, but
just throwing them in the deep end really made them.
Well, what about the time you spend with them, carting them around and just that sort of stuff?
Yeah, I think that's really important. Like, and I don't do that near as much. Like, I was down at Jamie's on the weekend, and I had some young pups with me, and I've got a lot, a fair few dogs around me at the moment, and just put them out on the tether chain there and worked them a couple of times and jumped them back in the ute and travelled them back home. And I just noticed a big change in them just from that one weekend. And then I used to do that every weekend, and they used to come with me all the time. And it's repetition. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And exposure is the big thing. Yeah. Exposure to life experiences, I suppose. Because, years ago, the dogs would have, like you might have had them tied up and they got away and then went and worked a bit, and then you go back and get them. And, now I don't really ever give them the opportunity to do that. Never. I always prevent that, So, and believe it or not, when it's brain development when they're growing up, that they different exposure, like they learn from it, they're exposed. Yeah. So sometimes I think now, like, you don't want them running amok, but you've got to just let them be dogs and let their genetics tell them what they're going to do, and then try and harness it and work with it. Yeah.
How do you go about harnessing it though? What's your sort of process on that?
Well, I've got a program that I do myself, but I don't necessarily do it in the same order. So depending on the dog, like, and where it's at, like if it's, like if it's not fully addicted to the livestock at the start, well, I probably won't put the stop on it until I got it really addicted. And I strongly believe that, and I learned this off Greg Prince, is I used to do a lot of dry work and then reinforce it on the livestock. I do a little bit of dry work and then I just enforce it on the livestock. So I'm getting command over instinct. Yep. I don't like doing things, 2 or 3 times all the time. I like to do it once and get it done right. But of course, it's all repetition. So, so I've got a bit of a program, but not necessarily will I do it in that same order for every dog. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Yeah. So if he's not going very well on the sheep, and I think a bit of him, and he's breeding, I might take him on the weaners, and I won't train on him on the sheep. I'll take him and let him be a dog on the weaners for a while, and make sure he's balanced up and not running amok, and then I'll bring him back and train on him when he's a bit older on the sheep.
Yeah.
I can get a bit of experience and then go from there. Yeah. And hopefully my judgment's right, and we can do it. I don't really get them going that well as a 2-year-old or a 1.5-year-old. I don't think. They get a bit of experience, and then they're going a lot better when they're 3 and 4.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned Greg Prince. Did you do one of his schools early in your sort of go with dogs, or was
it? So only one.
3, I think.
3.
I thought you did way more than that.
No, 3 and numerous phone calls.
Yep.
A lot of phone calls. I don't know if I had my number written there, because I used to ring a fair bit, and it might have got quite annoying, but I'm sure I wasn't the only one. But yeah, so I come back from the Gulf. The second year I come back, I wanted to go to the Queensland Championships at Benango and come back and attended it. And then I saw there was a grade school at Justin Dickens was there anyway. It was where he was working.
Yep.
Barraba or something, I think it's called, down
Yep.
south of North Star. And so I went down to it and did a school there with Greg, and won it every year after that at Taroom with my mate Terry at his place. Yeah.
And what was it about Greg's schools that kept you going back?
I was just keen for thirst for knowledge, you know.
Yep.
And then
Yep.
mainly to get good sides, you know, good sides and distance off the stock.
Yep.
And just you know, I went and watched him at several trials, and you know, he's a master, and you know, I think he might have forgotten more than we'll know in some aspects, you know. I don't know if he told us everything, but he just had terrific timing, you know, and dog selection. Yeah, terrific timing when he was training, and wanted to learn how to master that, you know.
Did you do any of these schools ever, Jamie?
Yeah, I did two Princey schools. Yeah, I was going to interrupt then and just say, you know, and back then, Hotzy, hey, he was the benchmark for clinics. Like there were plenty of other, I mean, I'm sure there are other guys doing clinics, but, you know, in the early thousands, there wasn't, you know, social media or, you know, it wasn't near as easy to find information. And he just seemed to be the guy that, you know, he was winning everything in his discipline, and the proof was in the pudding with his schools. And I would have said he was the most well-known clinician through that time by a fair way. You know, it's opened up a lot in recent times. You know, there's heaps of guys doing clinics, and that's a good thing too. But back then, yeah, he was it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I did. It was between him and Sean McGuigan, and Sean had done Greg's schools beforehand, but Sean had a little bit different way, similar but a little bit different. And Sean did do a bit of sheep trialing, but mainly cattle, working cattle. And so I bounced between Greg and Sean.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they had a different way of putting the side commands on. Sean puts them on from the opposite side of the sheep and pulls them out of balance, and Greg started them off balance and then brought them through the balance, and they both got pretty well the same result. But I just found it easier later on, you know, going through stages and having dogs that wanted to take ground off the stock and want to move them. I found it easy to put them on to start them off balance and then bring them through the balance rather than on the other side. But you know, if the dog's easier to train, I'll do it both ways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Any other mentors you had?
No, not particularly. Like I learned a lot off Jack and Lane Swan when I worked there at Mara, and I also learned a lot off Stan Dunkley. I travelled with Stan a lot, and like we went down to Hamilton and Victoria in 2008, and that might have been early 2009. Went to Hamilton, and in 2008 went down to Dungog for the State of Origin, and you know Stan had been around, and he had really good morals, and I was a young man growing up and learned a lot off those older fellas, and I tend to hang with them, and you know, and talk to them all the time because they'd lived 5 or 6 lifetimes in their life and done it really tough, and they knew what life was about. So
yeah,
I reckon it's also worth mentioning. I reckon Hotzy was one of the youngest trialers in those early thousands by about 40 years of age. Like it wasn't a young person's sport back then, hey?
No.
Not like now. You can go there, there's a fair social scene, and you know, there's heaps of young people trialing, but back then it was
just me and Warren Baton. Yeah, me and Warren Baton would have been it, I'd say.
Yeah.
And then in the early days, and then Sean Carr come for a bit, for a little bit, and then there was you and Gavin and Gav Ware, and but there wasn't a lot of us. Yeah, the most of them were 3 times my age. I'd worked out.
Yeah.
At the start. Yeah.
What was it? Even though that was the social scene there, what was it that kept you going back then?
Oh, just the love for dogs and the challenge of the trialing, and it's, as you know, it's a bug, and it gets in you, and And I had a little bit of success when I was younger and won a couple of trials and got a couple of seconds in the dog of the year. And if you're competitive, well, that's what draws you back. And and it was a good environment, and it's challenging,
Yeah.
You might be going to go here, Laura, but just in case you're not, like, it's probably worth mentioning. Hotz won't say it unless someone draws him out, but you won an Australian catalogue title way back. When was that, and how old were you, Hotz? Are you the youngest to have won it? I'd say you probably would.
As far as I know, I'm the youngest to win the Open. Yeah.
How old were you?
24.
Wow.
Pretty young, eh?
Yeah, I was 24, and it was 1,300k. I went from halfway between Springshaw and Tambo to Taroom, and then hopped into with Terry, and we drove all the way down there. And I had a young bitch, and I didn't think I really had much of a chance with her. She was 2.5, and it was a really good weekend and a totally different course. I didn't even know what the course was when I went there, and it was good. So they brought the cattle out and they set them up on the other side of the ring, which took a little bit of time. And so the put away gate was on the edge of the arena where the hole was. So then there was 2 judges on horses. One was Freddie Cook. I remember that because I talked to him at the end, and that's where I met Fred. And then they would tell you when to cast your dog, and then you'd cast the dog and deliver them, and then you'd do a bit of a drive around the fence into another hold up like an L shape, going clockwise, and then through 2 gates and then back home. But it was a 5-minute course, but it was I would nearly say a 7-minute course. If you couldn't get them going forward, you had to get them going forward really quickly, and then get in behind them and drive them around, or else you run out of time. And I ran out of time several times on that weekend, and the put away was worth 20. And there's people in the final that haven't got the put away. That's how.
Yeah.
Maybe not the final, but the second round.
Mm-hmm.
And so you had to get them moving, and that was a really real highlight for me. And then that got me proper keen. And and I thriving, like Sean had won 3 Australian championships with the one dog, and now I've won 2, like one in 2017, and I'd like to win a 3rd later on, because Sean's a mentor to me, but I don't think I'll do it with the one dog. But so, and I also got second that same day down there with that dog's father, Toby, in the novice. So I had a pretty good weekend.
Yeah, well worth the drive.
It was, yeah, but it was a good opening and a good concept, and it was a big trial. Yeah.
Yeah,
tell us. Sorry, Laura. You go.
That's something I didn't realise, and I only learned about it a couple of hours ago. In Queensland now, you mentioned before the judges told you when to cast your dog. Does that not happen anymore?
No, so that was a New South Wales thing down there, and it's not at every trial in Northern. That was more, I think it might be the hunter rules, I think.
Yeah.
For that course, so the reason for them telling you when to send your dog is because they had to set the cattle up for a fair cast for everyone, and where they were coming out, they had to go to the other end of the arena.
Yeah, righto. That makes more sense then. Yeah.
So in Queensland, your time just doesn't start till you send your dog.
Rightio. Yeah.
Yeah. Unless the judge tells you otherwise.
Sorry, Jamie, to butt in on you there.
No, it's all right. I was just going to say, Hotzi's mentioned he's won 2 Australians. I thought that these are catalogue titles. I thought it's a good yarn, the second one, because you weren't even going to go. You only tagged along because I went, and you threw your noms in on the last minute. Pretty
well, yeah. Well, I really wanted to go watch Spud go, and I knew it would be possibly one of his last ones. And then you were going up, and then I put a bit of time into my dogs, and a couple of weeks before. Pardon?
And got the win.
And got the win, yeah. And
but you wouldn't have went unless because you'd not long turned up to Auspec, a new job when we started working together. Is that right?
Yeah. I only just turned up and come back from Winton.
Yeah, you hadn't trialled for ages, and you only jumped in.
I hadn't trialled for like six years, I reckon. Yeah.
What a comeback!
run off in the final. It was a good story, I thought.
Yeah, just happened to forget to mention that one.
Yeah.
So you guys worked together then?
Yeah, so in 2000 and it's a funny story that, but yeah, we ended up. Jamie told me about a job, and I was happy in my job, and it was a good opportunity. And then Jamie decided that he'd take it when I wasn't going to have a go at it. And then anyway, circumstances changed, and I decided to move on from where I was. How you going, Dad? Didn't grow any hair on the weekend, I see.
He's not listening.
He heard it. Good.
Yeah, anyway, so I moved out to Winton in Western Queensland for 9 months. And anyway, it didn't work out there. And then Jamie started the business at Drilling for our spec. And he was looking for a man. And I was talking to Jamie all the time. And yeah, he asked me if I wanted to come work there. And yeah, I don't even know if I can even come and looked. I don't think I did I? Come look at the job. Talked to you on the phone, and then
probably a 15-year job interview.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and then so then we worked there together from 2017 to 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that's when Jamie was going up for that dog trial, and I thought, oh well, I'll go have a look, you know. And he said, "You're not taking the dog," and I said, "No, I don't need to take the dog." And then then I decided to.
Like you got a good friend. Encourage you to do it.
Yeah, pretty well, but I don't like losing, so no one likes losing. Yeah, so
have you learned to lose gracefully?
With a chance, you know. So you're on the air there.
Have you had to learn to? Yeah, got me. Thanks for getting on, guys. Sorry I'm late there. I got a bit carried away. But you said that you don't like losing, and we can't always win. So have you learned to lose gracefully when you have?
Yeah, I always say what Greg said, don't get better, get better. So, and that's always been in my head. And I remember talking to him one time about a few injustice, and he just said, don't get better, get better. And that's always stuck with me.
I like that one.
Yeah. So, and then we did. So, anyway, so the long and the short of it was Jamie had to drive home.
He was on the rum cans.
Yeah.
So how far home was that on the rum cans then?
Well,
probably half a box.
6
hours.
Yeah.
6 minutes.
6 hours, yeah. So
6 hours.
Yeah, but
there we go.
Saying that, like Jamie was there with Spud, and he was in the final, and I was fairly behind, and I'm not sure what happened there, if he didn't hear Jamie or took the wrong side command down the race, because I videoed the run, and Jamie had it won, but for some unknown reason, I think Spud might have got 2 seconds and a couple of thirds and fourths through his career at the Australian Championship, didn't he?
Yeah, a couple of seconds, I think. He never won a championship,
Yeah, Springshaw, Virginia, and then that one, and then maybe a few in between where I was in that.
Yeah, I wasn't second in that one, but I was on a third back and score, but that beast just ducked off 10 metres and we tucked it back in, but it was just enough to miss it.
Yeah.
I was out, so we had to cheer for Hotzy.
Did you boys ever get competitive at work?
I wouldn't say we were too bad.
Yeah, not too bad. Not at work, I wouldn't say. We just really worked together to get the job done, you know.
Yeah. Our biggest struggle was Hotzy's. He's got the wrong side command whistles. So his clockwise is like a two-part whistle, and that's my anti-clockwise. So that was about the worst clash we used to have. We'd be yarding cattle and having trouble, and he's giving that silly whistle that's the wrong direction, and my dogs are better trained than his, so mine would be taking his whistles and his wouldn't be taking mine. So we'd get in a bit of trouble. But
and I always said to Jamie that he should change his because I was the dog trainer first. But
there's that competitive streak I was asking about.
yeah, that's it.
Yes, yeah. So then my dogs just sat on the bike then, and then I just chucked the ones down that weren't trained as well. It wouldn't matter then.
Yeah, they just did what they wanted anyway.
Yeah, but that was pretty challenging and a bit confusing for the dogs. But yeah.
So did you work each other's dogs then at work?
No. I was just giving the example. We worked on a few lease blocks and adjustment blocks, and no one leases out the blocks with the best sets of yards and the best, yard up coolers and the cleanest paddocks. And there's a few moments on one block in particular where, we were trying to shove pretty big mobs of cattle into some pretty ordinary yards, and sometimes those yard ups were just two of us, and like decent numbers. But that's the example that I think of, at Echo Hotzy.
Yeah,
those girls in the yards, yeah.
Pretty small.
Actually, Isaac, do you want to explain what a cooler is? Because I actually didn't understand it until I spent some time up north. I thought it was like, taking some cattle through some sprinklers or through somewhere that might, be a cooler.
Yeah, so cooler is just a watering yard that for your cattle when you get from one destination to another for them to cool down before you start handling them, or just a big backyard on in a set of yards. But it wasn't really a cooler. We call it the cooler. It was the biggest yard we were yarding up into, but we always seemed to have, it was pretty full, especially come weaning time. And we'd purchase those cattle from a number of different vendors. I'd say 5 or 6 different vendors, or maybe more, and in dribs and drags, and put them all together, and we were rotationally grazing them around, and we were yarding up for branding. And there actually wasn't a cooler there to yard up out of. It was a big holding paddock. So once you lost your flow, and one person had to try and hold the tail and one person try and keep them going through the gate, but they, with a lot of calves, they just a bit rude probably. Well, not rude, but just come from a lot of different vendors, Yeah.
And those yards weren't designed for 600 head. They were designed for 100 head. Yeah, not saying we were trying to poke cattle in yards that were that small, but like they were designed to muster a paddock at a time and brand the calves and send them back, whereas we were sort of running in bigger mobs and just doing it a bit different. So all good fun.
I was going to ask, do you guys believe that like your stock handling changed by working together a bit? Like, did you guys like give and take a bit, like, and look at different approaches? Go, oh shit, maybe I can look at that, or you just went, no, I can't do it my way, and you guys do it your way.
Well, Jamie likes to go anti-clockwise. I like to go clockwise. So every now and then we change there and went to a paddock, but it really didn't matter. But some paddocks it did, but no, that's about it. Really, we're both very very proud when we do what we do, and we like everything to be right, not slap happy. We've both got the same amount of OCD, so I guess we work well together.
And we'd done a lot together in the past, just as mates, like we'd run dog trials together, as in like we'd helped each other run dog trials, helped each other break in cattle, like a lot of that kind of stuff, been at dog, countless kilometres in cars going to dog schools and things like that. So, we knew we were very similar on the fundamentals. But I think of a good example, Hotzy, bloody somewhere, we had a novelty event at a trial somewhere, a catalogue trial, and I think it was sort of in the evening. Yeah, it was in the evening, and everyone had a few beers, including us, and it was just a bit of a fun thing. But you'd team up with a mate, and it was like a 2-dog, 2-man trial. So, there was often, and it was all a bit of fun too, but there's often a fair bit of sort of over competing between the two handlers and their dogs or whatever. And I remember one distinct, totally different approach in stockmanship, that we had pretty tough cattle and spent a fair while to kind of, just kind of get them together and keep them together. And, I remember very clearly my instinct is, the minute we got those cattle together and settled, I stopped my dog really sharply to give him a stop to release the pressure from those stock. And the minute I did, Hotzy's like, he gave a big getting whistle. He's like, punish that sucker, So I remember that so clearly that it was just a complete opposite to what, I was kind of like, there you go.
I had a dog with a bit of heel, and I was actually I think I was talking about that on the weekend at up at Rocky.
So you remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah, at Austinville in 2011. Yeah, and I know exactly when, because I had Gem and that beast had stopped and we had to keep going forward. So I told her to hit him, and she hit the back leg, and you're like, "What'd you do that for?" And I'm like, "Well, move the bastard," And we'd only just got them together, but they're a bit ignorant. I'm like, "Nah, it needs moving," and Sparta just put them back together.
Complementing styles.
Yeah. Two totally different dogs working together.
So do you run similar lines? Like, do you ever breed together?
We do, but we haven't had very much success over the years. Jamie bought a lot of dogs off me early in the piece, and then I got some back off him, and he moved a few on, and then I've got a fair few off Jamie over the years, and then so we haven't had much success together, but we have joined a litter together just recently, which is two pretty well outside lines that we're sharing a litter at the moment. But the main bitch I'm breeding from is boy old Sparta Jamie's, which I bought off Jamie, and she seems to be going pretty good for me. He doesn't carry Jamie's prefect, but but over the years we haven't had much success with each other's dogs, have we?
Yeah, we've had a lot of each other's, but just haven't got them through to that old age sort of thing. Another thing worth pointing out is that even though we probably work stock reasonably similar, we probably do go for slightly different dogs in some ways. You probably spent a lot of your early career on Boss Indicus cattle, so you kind of ended up with just maybe a little bit more feely dog that could block pretty hard and probably just a bit more cover and hold. Whereas I spent a lot of my career sort of on British cattle, feedlotting, and I probably dogs are still going to hold stock together, but probably look for a little bit more shift. I had cattle that were a bit more dull and took a bit more shift. So they're probably some subtleties
that's certainly the case. I'm looking. I've always looked with the dog that wants to hold and cover all the time rather than come forward, and then that's why interacting your dogs over my bitches or the UK dogs, try and get that bit more forward movement, but not lose the finesse. That
was going to be my question then. Is like, Jamie, you're obviously known to have that UK stuff in your lines. Are you wanting it in your lines, Isaac? Because then, like, how's that going when you're liking that feely sort of dog? Because it's always UK.
Well, they're there, but it's a degree of eye, and when they're young, I think I can pick them now. Like, I want the one that'll go around and use his eyes, but then want to take ground. But once he causes a disruption or whatever he makes happen, then his next instinct's got to be to cover it and not chase. You can train those ones that want to chase a bit and get them out and look a bit prettier. But what I've found over the years is no amount of training, once they get a bit tired and it's a bit hot, that they revert back to what they were doing when they were younger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You can make them look good, but when it's, and that's not all the time. Like, the dogs aren't always tired and hot, but I just rather them. I just got a bit annoyed with coming back to a mob. Like, I'd leave a dog with some stock and come back, and then there'd be days around in the middle of them, or 5 or 6 just left out to the side.
Yeah.
And
So I thought I was a genetic pervert when it comes to dogs, mate, but you absolutely have me covered. What's your fascination with it?
Oh, just early in that, it's not really with the dogs. It's in all genetics. Like I started breeding a few Wagyu cattle at the moment, and we're breeding Wagyu cattle at Ausbeck, and Jamie was doing most of the breeding, and for whatever reason I wasn't as keen on it, and got a little bit keen on it, and now I'm really keen. But I guess I've always loved genetics and bloodlines, and I wish I knew where everything comes from in the dogs, but I think I know a little bit. But it's dogs are tough. Like, it's hard to get the consistency, but it's like my good, your good, Laura's good, and Jamie's good can be totally different. Like I say, oh, I got a good one, and you say you got a good one, and yeah, but it's, how do I say this? It's
Personal preference of good.
Yeah, it's personal preference, or you say, oh, you say that's come from the grandparent on the dam side. Like, how do you know? Like, unless you've done it a lot of times, like if it was that easy, we'd all have really, really good dogs.
Has he always been an encyclopedia with genetics, Jamie?
I was going to say, when Dan said that before, I was going to say, you want to see this bloke in his early 20s with those clear plastic folders, that you used to slip your pedigree into.
He's already laughing.
Honestly, like anyone who knows Hotz would just laugh at that, because one of the first times, we had anything to do with each other, I bought a few trainer sheep off him. And he met me, at Moles or wherever, or Taroom or wherever it was. And
I even delivered them for you from Mara.
Yeah, well, it was a fair deal, mate. Anyway, so we pulled up there on the side of the road, and we must have backed onto each other and, walked these sheep across or whatever. And then next thing, the pedigree folder comes out, and I hadn't really sort of, hadn't been in dogs very long, and probably didn't even really understand pedigrees that well. Like, I sort of had a rough idea, but yeah, next thing he's telling me, he's flicking over pages saying, yeah, I'm going to join this dog to, this bitch because this lines up with that. And he's flicking back and forth these pages, and I haven't heard of any of these genetics or whatever. And like, this is in his early 20s. So.
And they weren't just his dogs, are other people's dogs.
Well, they were just dogs you're putting together. Hey, Hotz, like a lot of McGuigan blood and a bit of Prince blood and a bit of other stuff. Yeah.
I studied them. Like the McGuigan blood was, he had a good bitch called Meg, which was a Clyde Tess, and then I knew the good had come from there, because a lot of the dogs I had were along the Clyde Tess line, over either Rojon Booch or Rojon Jock or Greenwood Meg or Greenwood Lou, and that they're all Clyde Tess. So I knew there had to be something good there, because it was very common. And I often ask myself, was it that, or was that what was only available at the time? But I don't think so. I think it was that they made good catalogs. Yeah. And they were good structured dogs. They were, they're bigger, leggier dogs than what I've got. Well, I'm starting to get them back today, but they're good types.
If you could put anything into your own line now, what would it be? Would it be the leg and traveling?
Yeah. If I had to put it in there now, no, still probably a little bit more come forward. Yeah, like willing to take more ground and want to move their stock. Because, main thing I really look at is the stamina in the dogs. Like, obviously, we're not going to wait for them to grow up, but I really want to focus on that, because if they can't travel, well, then it doesn't matter how well they work, they're not good to us at all, And especially if you're selling dogs out into the industry, you want to be selling a good article that can travel, And so it's the stamina, but I always looking for the dog that wants to come forward, but still have the cover, that wants to boss their stock. Yeah.
Are you breeding many pups, mate?
Yeah, I've been breeding a few, but just of late, I haven't bred my bitches the last couple of months. Got a lot of dogs around me at the moment, and just had a few outside bitches come, and bought a young dog at the sale the other day at Rocky. Hopefully get me a bit keen again to start trolling next year. And so just been, and I've got some nice young pups at the moment that I want to put some time into, that Jamie and I bred by an American dog called Sam. Yeah. So I really think a lot of them, I've got 4 of them, and Jamie's got 3, and we worked them on the weekend, and so we'll see how they turn out. Totally different blood, so we'll see.
Yeah. And you're a big believer in AI, mate.
Yeah, well, for me, I am, just because I don't really have the dogs that I'm looking for to breed from in the line. So, years ago, I had a baiting accident, lost a lot of dogs, and anyway, I had a couple of dogs, and then that's when I started collecting them and preserving the genetics. and I've just started using those genetics again in the last couple of years. Yeah.
Do you think if it wasn't for that incident happening that you would be so keen on collecting dogs and everything?
No, I probably wouldn't have been. I don't reckon. Yeah, if I didn't have that accident and lose those dogs, because it gave me a fright. I had a very good team. What I thought was a good team, and I was going to the Queensland Championships the next week, and I lost all these dogs, and then I didn't go. I only had a couple left, 3 left, I think.
Yeah.
One was in the cage, lame. One had pups, and then the other one, So the one that had the pups, she was coming to work with me, and a young dog called Herb, and then the other fella, Toby, he was lamed up. He'd hurt his leg, and he was in the cage. Yeah, so I didn't lose them, and so then I collected them for a bit of security, because it would take me a fair while to pull those dogs together, probably a good 4 years, and they were very good. What I thought were very good genetics. Like they were a couple of them were by Glenn, the imported dog Paul Oates brought out, and they were ready to go for their first trial, and out of a magic bitch, which was out of a sister to Princess Clyde. So that was pretty devastating. Yeah.
So for 2 mates that didn't get off onto the right foot straight away, how did you turn around to end up running and creating your auction?
Oh, yeah. So you want to talk about that? Yeah. I guess, look, we've talked about a fair bit tonight already, but, there's a fair bit of history there. We've done a lot together and worked together, and dogs and stock are the common thing, mainly dogs, I guess. But, look, I would have said the approach came from me. I sort of took it to Hotz. We'd thrown the idea, around a little bit in the past, but I kind of got to the point where I thought, we need to do something, and our skill sets are probably very suited to what we're doing together. So the more I thought about this, I thought, well, I can handle the tech and the admin and the bookkeeping and all that sort of stuff. But it was too much to sort of take on for one person. And Hotz was just the clearest choice, not just because we're mates and, we trust each other or whatever, but, you might have noticed tonight that, he loves talking dogs, and, he's sort of, we really needed, or in my mind, I didn't want to be taking phone calls all the time and doing all the behind the scenes stuff as well. And I kind of put it to Hotz. I said, well, let's do this 50-50. And he's the first point of contact for, phone calls, inquiries, logistics, all that sort of stuff. And the other thing is, Hotz is self-employed, so has a little bit of flexibility in what he does. Whereas I still sort of have a day job at this point in time. So I guess that's probably how we ended up, doing it together. Would you say that's a fair description, Hotz? Just a very differing skill set, I guess, but
They complement each
probably,
other.
Probably underpinned by fairly common opinion on, the dog industry and I guess I'm not going to say the requirement, but, there's a good fit there for an online auction. Take Auctions Plus, for example, with cattle. You can go to a physical sale yard anywhere in the country and buy cattle if that's what you prefer. But if you want to jump on a Friday, see what the market's doing, see if there's anything that suits you, buy and sell online. They haven't rubbed each other out. They've existed alongside for many years now and will continue to do so. So, that's kind of how we came about with the idea, I guess.
Yeah, and it was, there was no real thought process. Should we go into business together or not? Because, a few years ago we nearly went into business together in the cattle enterprise and leasing a block together. Us and our families. So, there was no real thought process. Is it going to work or not going to work? We respect each other, and so it was no drama. So yeah, so just so everyone knows, it's called the Australian Working Stock Dog Auction, and we've got our first auction in June. First week in June.
So
Now,
nominations close shortly, I believe.
Yeah, so I might just explain a little bit about that if we just take a step back. So yeah, just to explain what it is for those that don't know. Look, and it's worth saying straight off the bat that we're not looking to reinvent the wheel. Basically, what we're up to is running a quarterly online only working stock dog auction. So they're our main points of difference, that we're online only. So there's no physical auction. We're on an independent auction software, and we're looking to run quarterly. So we're just looking for a little bit more consistency. Most working dog auctions in Australia at the moment are run annually. They're tied to a particular showground or a particular town, and they only come around once a year. So we just thought that quarterly was a good mix to just get something happening for buyers for sellers and buyers, I guess. That if you're preparing dogs, and there's heaps of people out there now, preparing dogs for sale. They're working stock for a living. They have surplus dogs. There's a huge demand in the Australian livestock industry for good quality working dogs at the moment, and I guess the quarterly idea just gives people a little bit more flexibility to produce something a little bit more consistently, and I guess give them the option that if a dog's not quite ready for an auction, they can just leave it out of this one and put 3 more months into it and sell it really confidently in 3 months' time. That can work well for buyers as well. That if there's nothing on this in the winter auction coming up, you don't have to panic too much. You can wait till the next one. It's only 3 months away, and there might be something in the next one. So I guess they're our main points of difference. Yeah, and look, we're really trying to make it a national thing. So the fact that it is online only, we're really genuine about our intent to try and dig out the quality working dogs, the good genetics from all corners of Australia. There's with transport and things like that these days, there's no reason why for a few $100 or $500 you can get them from one end of Australia to the other, and it can give remote, because some of these farms are pretty remote. There's some good dogs hiding out there, or some good genetics, and if we can kind of dig them out and put them into one place, and across all disciplines too, yard dogs, shed dogs, things that are probably a little bit outside of Hotzy and my wheelhouse. If we can spread that geography and find
really
hopefully
really build a good network. Like if you ring up someone about a dog and you like their dog and you miss out on it, like you can talk to them and say, have you got any more? Or they'll say, yep, we've got another one coming up of this breeding. Like I've got a sibling out of the litter, but it's a bit behind this one. And so then people that are looking for dogs, they can get a contact and know where to find what they're looking for.
Hotzy's going to have potential sires scattered all across Australia.
What do you reckon? Potential size?
Yeah, we got orders. I know where this dog's over here and that one over there. Are you worried that your own pack's going to get too big?
Yeah, I hope Katie's not listening. I'm working on downsizing at the moment. But and the other thing is with the demonstrations, if your dog's in grade 2, you only need to demonstrate him on grade 2 livestock. So you can spend a bit of time and do good videos of him on the livestock that he's up to.
Yeah.
For what he is, yeah.
Yeah, and put him in the situation for what he is, and what he is what he is. Like we're really pushing, an honesty thing, to be honest, and and like if he's got undesirable traits, give as much information as you can, and as well as his desirable traits. And your undesirable mightn't be undesirable for someone else.
Yeah. And I think if vendors aren't honest about it, they'll get found out easy, and they just won't be reciprocating through go. So you actually see who's providing good dogs and what dogs like. Someone like myself, for example, started dogs, right? But I don't have the work to finish them off. And then there might be someone else that finishes off dogs well. And I'm sure there's people in pockets of the country everywhere that are in similar situations, and there'll be a dog to suit someone somewhere.
Yeah. And it'll throw a little bit of transparency in the market, just as far as price too. Like, I like the idea that, we intend to keep good records of averages and clearances and things like that. That I guess it'll hopefully set a little bit of a market there that we can keep track of, and and dogs will be priced accordingly. You see, I do find a little bit with some of the auctions, some of the focus is on the big money and the tops and things like that, but hopefully we can find something for everyone, because it's not all about the sale topper or how strong the average is. It's just finding the right fit, for the buyer and the seller, and that is an advantage of the simultaneous format too of what we're doing. That the fact that our auction is simultaneous. If we've got 30 lots in a sale, they all sell over a time period at once. So if you really love lot 17 and you do your budget on lot, you blow your budget on lot 17, you can come back to lot 3 and throw a little bit more money at lot 3. And, whereas, these other auctions that run from lot 1 through to lot whatever, sometimes you can kind of miss out on the dog that you want. Whereas this way, hopefully it suits the buyer and the seller that, that seller of lot 3 is going to be pretty, lot 17 is going to make what he was going to make anyway. And lot 3 is going to be, the seller of lot 3 is going to be pretty happy you got a couple more bids, and then hopefully that buyer's happy that I couldn't afford the dog I really wanted, but I found one that suited me within my budget.
Yeah, it's similar to like an online only clearance auction that Auctions Plus does.
Look, very similar to Auctions Plus. I mean, it's and I guess just to put it back into context with the dog job. So other auctions have run this format, particularly through COVID. Yep. I've sold dogs myself through that format and I loved it. I was, that's a format that really suits me. It's a fun week jumping on throughout the week and, seeing how your dog's going or seeing how the dogs you're looking to buy are going. And, in our case, we're going to close our auctions at 6 p.m. on a Thursday night. So, hopefully, people who are serious about buying dogs, they'll jump on before finish and do a job on it. And, that's how that works.
So that will run Thursday to Thursday? Or like
Friday? So it's Friday to Thursday, so it's 6 days. So we're going to shut noms on a Thursday. We'll have a week we'll get those catalogued immediately after noms shut. So there'll basically be a week between nominations closing and when the bidding opens, and then there'll be 6 days of bidding following. So
there's no
we kind of worked around. So sorry, I'll just finish that. So we kind of worked around the weekends a bit. That if we've got dogs finished, invoiced, and paid for Thursday night, Friday, that people can start organising some transport or pickups or whatever around those weekends. Yeah.
And for a vendor, what's it going to cost them? What's the process?
So for a vendor, there's a nomination fee of $165, including GST, and the commission is 6.6%, including GST.
Yep.
So that's pretty in line with other auctions. One of our selling points, there's no buyer's premium. A lot of online auctions, not just dogs, anywhere else, antiques or machinery or whatever else seem to charge some pretty decent buyer's premiums.
Yep.
We don't want to clip our buyers. We want to build a really big network of genuine buyers, and the guys selling are the ones they're making the money. So that's where we'll cover our costs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so once they get the last nominations come in and it's been catalogued, so you got roughly 2 weeks to ring and contact the seller and to go have a look at your dog. So it's run for a week, but there's a week in between before it starts. So that gives a purchaser a bit of time to possibly go have a look at a couple of dogs or get some more videos or ask all the questions, But just so everyone's aware, so when Jamie said that it's going to close us up, the sale is shut down at 6 p.m. on Thursday night, it will keep running until depending on what time is set. So just so everyone understands it, they're not aware of how it works, it's the timer of the last bid. Yeah, so it's a countdown timer.
Yeah, so 2 minute bid extension. So again, without not wanting to mention Oxen's Plus too much, but similar. It's something everyone's familiar with. So similar.
You don't need to reinvent the wheel. Like you said before, it's all the same thing, just a different platform that's specialised for working dogs.
Yeah, and our software is very established. Like these guys that have sort of built our site, they do a lot of antiques, machinery, all sorts of stuff. So they're
Yep. And say I'm the lucky buyer Thursday night, what's the process then? How quickly do I need to get that money into that account?
Yeah, so we basically will invoice immediately at the close of the sale, and payments due within 24 hours. So basically due immediately, and that's just to keep things rolling at the drop of the hammer, and that just as we said, it's nice to try and use that weekend for people to go and pick up dogs or arrange transport or whatever else. So
beautiful, thank you.
Very cool. That said, Isaac, how much time do you put into training your dogs, mate?
Well, not as much as I used to, but I'm endeavouring to put more time into them. But years ago I used to be out well and truly into the night, sometimes into the mornings, working the dogs under lights. But I haven't done that for a fair while now since I've got 3 young girls. So and I'm not trialing like I used to, but I used to put a lot of hours into them. And it was morning and night. It wasn't just at night, but the dogs, they were used and dated every day. Like that they were my life. They come to work and So if you added your work time up, it was a lot of time. Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh shit! I just had the question right on top of my head, and I absolutely forgot what it was, and it's going to piss me off too now. That's what I was going to ask before. Like you might have asked it before, but was there a most influential dog for yourself that you've had?
Yeah, there was. Yes and no. There was 2, but there was a dog that. There's a type of dog that I know that I'd like to have, and everyone would say they'd probably like to have him, and that was Jamie's dog Spud. I'd like him to be like him, but mainly just because of the way he worked and how cool-minded he was, and he had what I like to say is bad breath. Like he could shift stock by just looking at him, and they would just move, like. And if he needed to bite, like it's something that wanted to challenge him, he could whack it too. So, but to answer your question, I had 2 dogs years ago. One called Lookaby Toby and one called Scotstoun Herb, and they were similar bred. Herb was a double cross of Pars Magic, and Toby was a double cross of Glen. But on the dam side, on the grand dam on the bottom line was nearly all the same, and then on the top line there was a bit of Governor in Toby, but no Magic. But Herb was all the same, and it's both those dogs. Yeah, they. What was the question again?
They've been influential
dogs.
Yeah, they're very influential. Like Toby was a machine. He really just wanted to take ground with the stock, and he was very poorly trained. Like, and I didn't respect him as such. Like he'd go left and right and that, but like he'd be hanging off clean skin bulls and cows that would bail up, and I'd expect to go and 3 sheep trial him at Roma, and he did it, but not real successfully. But he could do it. And then Herb, he was a bit more of a thinker, and in one sense, I wish Toby was a bit more like that, and he had a bit, if Toby had a bit of Herb and Herb had a bit of Toby, because Toby had all the come forward that you want. Like, I can remember when I was in Western Australia back in, big bulls, like 8-year-old bulls back to the middle of the pound, and you couldn't hop in the yard with them; they'd just chase you. So I'd just sit up on the rail and drive them back through the yards with him, and he could do that. And but like with a bit of stockmanship, so you weren't creating a fight all the time, like pressure release. But he anything you put in front of him, he could do it. Yeah.
Hey Jamie, when you see Isaac, when you mention like breeding and you see him light up like that, how many vendors do you reckon he's going to bamboozle when they ring the collie and he starts asking some questions and he tells them more about their dogs than they know?
And I'm just glad he's not on my payroll when he's answering these phone calls and these inquiries. He probably spends enough of his own, because I don't know if you were here when we mentioned it earlier, but Hotz is a contractor. He works for himself, so I even feel a bit guilty sometimes when we go down a rabbit warren, in the middle of the day, talking about not what we started talking about, and he's on his own payroll, probably not getting paid for that time. So
yeah,
I'm sure they'll. Yeah, and Hotzy's already said, we've had a lot of inquiry, a lot of phone calls from all over, and Hotzy has mentioned that we've uncovered some really interesting characters already. We know a lot of people in the dog world. You wouldn't say it's that large in Australia, but that'd be true, Hotzy. Like, you've uncovered some interesting characters already that
Definitely.
That, weren't on our radar. So
yeah, in all parts of Australia, and not necessarily just wanting to sell dogs, also wanting to buy dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah, good luck to him, I say, Dan.
Quick 5 minutes yesterday and 45 minutes, and we were like, dude, I'm gonna be up at 3 o'clock. I don't mean to be rude, but I'm gonna go to bed because we could have been there all night. It just kept going. And I love talking about dogs, and I was like, man, it will be midnight.
Well, mate,
before you know it.
You and I did the same thing late last week as well, so maybe you're the common denominator.
Maybe, mate.
I wouldn't disagree with that one.
I love dogs, man, and they're pretty cool, especially when like-minded people. And it's not even sometimes about the breeding, just like-minded people in general. If your values align, and you just talk, you go down to training stuff, and then just sayings. And I think you spoke about just whenever you hear something, or both of you have actually mentioned it, when you speak to someone, you might hear a saying you like, so you pull up and you write it down, and you stew on it later and think a bit deeper. It doesn't even necessarily have to be breeding, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Hotz, you mentioned trialing there a bit earlier. You said you'd like to do a bit more of it, mate. What would you like to get into? Is it just the cattle trialing, or would you like to move around a bit? Look, we lost him.
Oh, we lost the big guy.
Hang on.
Yeah, I am here, but yeah, I didn't get that question.
You all right?
Did the internet? Just give me a second. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're back.
Yeah, right. All good. What was the question?
Maybe just you mentioned trialing a few times tonight, and how you'd like to get into a bit more of it. Would you like to explore away from the cattle trialing a bit as well, or do more in the cattle scene? What would you like to do, mate?
Yeah, I'd like to do a bit and just get back involved. I'm doing a fair few dog schools now, and roughly one a month around the place. So people have been asking me to go and do them. So I'm happy to go do them and help out the people getting into dogs. So yeah, just get out and campaign my dogs again. People don't even know some of the lines I've got, and I'm competitive. So yeah, but I was going to have a go at the odd 3 sheep trial again. I was thinking. Yeah.
Actually, Nick Hovey asked me to ask you the trial last week with the Battle of the Sexes course that you designed. Can you talk us through that? And it must have been designed a particular way for a particular purpose.
Yeah. So Gary went from the Ray White sale and trial up there, rang me and asked me if I'd if I'd like to judge a battle of the sexes, and I said, yeah, I would. I thought it was a really good trial to judge because it's everyone's best dog and everyone's best bitch, and I think it's a good concept. And so I put it to Gary that I would judge it if he'd let me run a course that I designed and give us the opportunity to showcase it. And he said, yeah, sure, draw us up something and send it in. So anyway, so I sat down and I started drawing a course that I really like and think a bit of, and got halfway through it, and I got really thinking about it, and then I'm like, oh no, this isn't going to work up there in that arena. So then I had to design another course, and so small steps. The point system's based. It's the concept's based a little bit like the Queensland Trialling Association, but I really want to make it a progressive course and in a bit different with a bit more stockmanship. And so I designed it with that to have the hold like the New South Wales course and a free working hold. So it's up to the stockman. He can move out of the way and use his judgment to deliver the livestock for one. And then once he delivered the livestock, there was a free working area right into the corner so they could use the fence, and you could stay in that free working area as long as you wanted. If the cattle went out of the free working area, you could get them back as long as you didn't walk out of it. As soon as you walked out of it, then you were going on to obstacle 1. So that was the idea. You could stay there for, as long as you want. It was an 8-minute course to help settle your cattle down before you went on to attempt obstacle 1. But the main difference with the course was there was no handless pegs. So the idea of that is that, a lot of the time you see people trying to attempt an obstacle, especially in the catalogue trialling, and, they battle away, and then they retire, or the bell goes and they go to put them away. And then as soon as they take a step away from the handless peg, the livestock move towards the obstacle where they're trying to attempt. So really it's the handler pressure in a lot of circumstances that's stopping the job to be done. So, so I said you could assist your dog, and the 14 finalists said to me, well, where do we stand? A couple of people said, and I just said, do what you do at home. The only thing is you can't go through the obstacles. And I've got to thank Milo, Dan Matthews. He was there, and he gave me a hand to set it up. And Milo's been involved with that sort of thing, the different obstacles, and he had really good input. And he said, oh, it's different, but anyway, it worked. And so it was progressive obstacles, and so it was scored a bit different to the way it normally is scored, but it's 5 for your hold and 10 for the obstacle 1 and 20 for obstacle 2 and then 30 for the pen. So we put a pen in the ring just like the 3 sheep course, but no handless peg. So they made it look really easy, but I can tell you, if they weren't in the right spot and the dog wasn't in the right spot, there's no way the cattle would have went around the course. They didn't make it look easy, but it was the best dogs and the best handlers at the time. So, so when I designed it, I had the hold at one end, and so there was a big long cast in the most amount of area we had to work with. So we went from one end of the arena to the other, and then worked our way up the arena. And then there was a couple of gaps in the obstacles, so they're totally different obstacles. And part of the reason of not having a handless peg, either the handler or the dog had to cover part of this obstacle to get the maximum points, because if the livestock come out the gaps in the obstacle, they were losing 1 point per head for obstacle 1 and 2 points per head for obstacle 2 on the obstacles. And then I also had a section for stockmanship, a scoring for stockmanship. So that's why it was out of 150, not out of 100. And that was, everyone's going to have their opinion, but that was the judge's discretion on the stockmanship on the night or on the trial as such. So, and there was 13 out of 14 full courses. So, it worked really well in that arena. Yeah, and I knew it would work. I didn't think it was going to not work. Like with my experience and working cattle my whole life and doing a lot of trialing, I knew it would work. Yeah, but you can make it a lot more difficult if you want to make it more difficult. Like you can put a tarp down in halfway through an obstacle. Because they're long obstacles. It's just not like 2 panels. It's a bit like a race. So you can put a tarp down and actually have to force those cattle over the tarp. And And there could be an option that you don't have to do that, but if you stayed there, you get more points. Or we could put a handler's peg at the put away, or you could do a number. The sky's the limit, really.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Just yeah, whatever your imagination tells you. Yeah.
Do you have a favourite trial to compete at, mate?
Yeah, I like Rockland Springs. Yeah, but unfortunately it's been sold, and yes, I don't know if they'll be doing any trialing there anymore, or Bohemia. I really like Bohemia. It's a big course, like it's a big, usually in the full camp draft arena. So yeah, to me it's probably a bit more open, a bit more practical. Yeah.
Plan on travelling with this other bloke here that a bit more over the next couple of years and get around to a few more?
Yeah, hopefully in the next few years. Yeah, and take my girls along, take the family along, and hopefully get the girls into it. And yeah,
they're all carting kids around now. It's the carpooling's not what it used to be. The couple of swags are all getting big setups and kids and all that.
Different tunes as well, right?
Well, I don't know. They've probably stayed the same.
Yeah.
The behaviour probably hasn't improved that much either, really, with the families. But it's all good fun.
Yeah.
Really cool. And we hear the debates, and we've had it before, that trial dogs don't make real work dogs. But here we got two guys that work and trial the same dogs. When you hear those things come through, what comes to your mind?
It's just what the dog's exposed to, and if he can do it or can't do it, I suppose. Yeah, like it's what I like to say, at my schools, like just because you've got the brakes and steering doesn't mean you've got to use it. Like I say, it's all good to have the commands, but use them, don't abuse them. So, don't just because you can see the beast going out to the right, don't give him the right command or the anti-clockwise command. Just be patient and wait a few seconds and just see. And most of the time, you'll probably find he'll go on his own accord, tuck him in. So, like they definitely can do both. So it's just if they're exposed and inexperienced, like, someone at the trials all the time and they haven't had a cow come out and bellow and blow a bit of snot over the dog. Of course, the dog's going to get a big fright because he's never been exposed to that. It's a bit like trying to tackle Gallon. if you're playing touch footy and then you suddenly got to tackle Paul Gallon or Sam Thordo, it's not going to be much fun, is it?
I love how you used the New South Wales supporter first.
Yeah, it's because they're easy to tackle, mate.
Yeah.
Maybe the last conversation we had, Jamie, was what was it? It was Wally who?
Oh, mate, that was well done. But people said to me after that interview, they said, "Oh, do you and Dan know each other?" And I was like, "Nah, we only met. We had a quick warm up before we got online." And yeah, but no, I had to pay that one, mate. That might have been the funniest thing you've said in 112 episodes, mate.
Probably. That's about it. I think he got it.
No. You said who's she? That's right.
Who's she? That's right.
Yeah. I didn't see that coming. Actually,
I had a better one for you if he's asked me today while I was running late, but we won't get into that. But I made a couple of finals, but my dogs have paramatitis or para syndrome. They look good, but when it comes to the crunch, they just fold.
Good from far, but far from good.
Anyways, that's a time for another. That's a day for another story.
Don't get bitter, just get better.
Oh yeah, I like it.
Bit of wisdom.
I like it. Hotz, for someone that's working for themselves now, mate, and young people coming to the industry, what advice would you give to someone that wanted to pursue a career in the livestock industry?
Well, the advice that I'd give is this necessarily hasn't happened to me, but if you were going to work somewhere and it wasn't working out for you as such, the environment wasn't well, I wouldn't say like stay there. Like in the stock camp, I'd go and feel where you are a bit more comfortable. Like not sook it as such, but just, you know, don't stay there because like you're proud and feel like you got to fit in. Like life's really short. You need to be there and you need to be in the environment like where you're learning, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where you can learn. So I'd say ask lots of questions, and then when you've asked those questions, even carry a notebook like to learn, and then make sure like when you do go home, it's okay to ask lots of questions, but then you've got to act on it, you know, to act on what you've learnt as such. Yeah. So ask lots of questions and you know, like especially like a green person, but yeah, and do what you love. Don't try not, you know, if you go somewhere and you think you're going to be working cattle and they got you driving the tractor, well, you know, don't just stay there driving the tractor because it's a job. Follow your dreams, and you know, we've all got choices, and it's your choice at the end of the day. You know, to, you know, you say, oh, I went there, but it was no good, and we stayed there for 6 months. Well, you've just lost 6 months that you're not going to get back. So make sure you're doing what you want to do as such, and yeah, we've got the choice. So yeah, and ask lots of questions and try and put it into practice. Don't be afraid to ask questions. If people aren't happy to give you the answers, well, you're probably not in the right environment.
And is there anyone you'd like to see us have a chat with on Dog Talk that we haven't? Or someone again on a certain topic?
I'd like to see you like the likes of, say, Mick Rigby. Yep. Or Jim O'Connell. Yep. Someone like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or even Dick Chapman or Snow Ellis on the North Coast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yep.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, it's come to that time. Laura, do you want to fire away there?
Would you rather fight one horse the size of a duck? Hang on. It's getting late. Would you rather fight 20 horses the size of ducks or one
duck the size of a horse?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I couldn't picture it. I don't have it in front of me.
Are you on your own or you got ammunition?
Oh, well, I guess you could take it either way. What's it?
What a pistol and the dogs.
I haven't really thought this week. But anyway, like say it was 20 horses the size of ducks. You know, you could. I wouldn't mind to do that. You know, you could put them together. You could chuck a few dogs on them and put them, lock them up. Really, if you had to. Yeah. Well, that's about it.
Very cool, guys. Thank you very much for your time tonight. I know it's late there, but thanks for getting on, learning a bit about yourself, Hotzy, explaining your new platform as well. We really appreciate it. So thanks for jumping on and having a yarn to us.
Yeah, no worries.
And thank you, Jamie, as well. It's been great.
Oh, good.
Excellent.
No, very good. And everyone listening back. Sorry, what was that, mate?
I was just saying thanks for everyone listening.
No, that's cool. I'm sure you get a few phone calls after this as well, mate. And people just rack your brains about genetics as well. But to everyone out there, please remember we learn every day. And the day we stop learning, it would be a sad one for all of us.
Thank you.
Good night, guys.
Night.